The neighbor. The sun cast long shadows across the pristine suburban street as Eleanor Green peeked through her living room blinds. She had noticed the moving truck earlier, but now it was almost dusk, and the house next door was still bustling with activity. Eleanor prided herself on knowing everything about the neighborhood, but this move had caught her completely off guard. She decided to introduce herself and perhaps glean a little more information about her mysterious new neighbor. Grabbing a plate of freshly baked cookies, a ruse she often employed, she made her way next door. As she approached, she saw a man unloading a large box from the back of the truck. He was tall and broad-shouldered, dressed in a simple t-shirt and jeans. "Hi there," Eleanor called out brightly, extending her hand. "I'm Eleanor. I live next door." The man set the box down and wiped his hands on his jeans before shaking hers. "Nice to meet you, Eleanor. Name's Marcus." Eleanor's eyes flicked to his wrist, where an immaculate watch gleamed in the evening light. Her curiosity got the better of her. "That's a gorgeous timepiece. Is that a Rolex?" Marcus chuckled. "You've got a good eye." "Yeah, it's a Daytona." Eleanor's brow furrowed. "A watch like that isn't just expensive, it's nearly impossible to find." Marcus shrugged. "Guess I got lucky." Eleanor cleared her throat, regaining her composure. "So, are the new homeowners inside?" "I'd love to meet them." Marcus smiled faintly. "You're looking at him." Eleanor blinked, her smile faltering. "Oh, you're the homeowner?" "That's right," Marcus replied, picking up the box again. "Well," Eleanor said with a nervous laugh, "I must say, it's unusual. This neighborhood is exclusive." "Guess I'm the unusual type," Marcus said, his tone neutral. Before Eleanor could press further, another man walked out of the house. He was young, wary, and wearing a shirt emblazoned with the logo of a moving company. "Anything else, boss?" the man asked. "No, you're good. Thanks for the help." Marcus handed him a tip before turning back to Eleanor. "Anyway, thanks for the cookies. I've got a lot of unpacking to do." Eleanor hesitated, then finally turned to leave. Something about Marcus didn't sit right with her. Unwanted noise. That evening, Eleanor was jolted awake by the thumping bass of loud music. She groaned, throwing on a robe and storming outside. The noise was coming from Marcus's house. At his door, she banged loudly until Marcus appeared, a glass of whiskey in hand. "Eleanor," he greeted, unbothered by her scowl. "What brings you by?" "What brings me by?" she snapped. "It's nearly midnight, and your music is shaking my windows." Marcus glanced back into the house, where a small group of people were laughing and chatting. "Sorry about that. Just a little housewarming get-together." "This is not the kind of neighborhood for parties," Eleanor said, her voice tight. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You're welcome to join us." "I don't think so." Eleanor's eyes swept over the room, noting the diverse group of guests. Her suspicions deepened. "People like you moving into this neighborhood, it's concerning." Marcus's smile disappeared. "People like me?" Eleanor hesitated. "You know what I mean." "No," Marcus said, stepping closer, his gaze unwavering. "I don't." Before Eleanor could respond, a police cruiser pulled up. A heated exchange. The officer stepped out, his flashlight sweeping over the scene. "We got a noise complaint," he said. Eleanor immediately took charge. "Thank goodness you're here, officer. These people have been disturbing the peace all night." The officer turned to Marcus. "Sir, are you the homeowner?" "Yes, I am," Marcus replied calmly. "No, he's not," Eleanor interjected. "He's just renting, or worse, squatting." Marcus sighed and pulled a folder from a nearby table. "Here's the deed to the house, officer. Paid in full. In cash." The officer examined the papers and nodded. "Everything seems to be in order." Eleanor was aghast. Cash? Who does that unless they're laundering money? Marcus's jaw tightened. I'm a jeweler, Eleanor. I own 5 stores across the state. I also happen to deal in luxury watches, including the one you admired earlier. Eleanor opened her mouth to retort but was interrupted by a young boy running out of her own house. Mom! Is this Dad's new Rolex? The boy shouted, holding up the watch. Eleanor's face drained of color. Matthew! What are you doing with that? The boy hesitated. I found it. The officer raised an eyebrow. Found it where? Matthew looked at the ground. In his house. The real story. The tension was palpable as Marcus folded his arms. Care to explain, Eleanor? She stammered, reaching for the watch. This must be some kind of misunderstanding. Marcus shook his head. No misunderstanding. Your son took it. Eleanor's cheeks burned. Matthew, inside. Now. The boy scurried off, leaving the adults in awkward silence. I'm so sorry, Eleanor began. Save it, Marcus said, cutting her off. You've made it clear what you think of me. But let me make something clear to you, things aren't always what they seem. Eleanor was about to respond when Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. Excuse me, I have guests to attend to. He closed the door, leaving Eleanor standing on the porch, humiliated. Uncovering secrets. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor kept a close eye on Marcus. But the more she observed, the more confused she became. He seemed friendly with the other neighbors, often helping them with small tasks. His guests were always polite, and the noise never exceeded acceptable limits again. One evening, Eleanor noticed a black car parked outside Marcus's house. 2 men in suits emerged and were greeted warmly by Marcus. Curious, she crept closer, straining to hear their conversation. We've secured the Paris deal, one of the men said. Good, Marcus replied. That'll put us over the top for the quarter. Eleanor's brow furrowed. Was Marcus more successful than she had assumed? A stunning revelation. Her questions were answered one day when a glossy magazine arrived in her mailbox. Flipping through it absent-mindedly, she froze when she saw a familiar face. There, in a feature about successful entrepreneurs, was Marcus. The article detailed his rise from a modest background to becoming the owner of one of the most lucrative jewelry empires in the country. Eleanor's stomach churned as she read the final line, Marcus Blackwell is redefining success, and teaching us all that appearances can be deceiving. A sincere apology. That evening, Eleanor gathered her courage and knocked on Marcus's door. He answered, surprised to see her. Eleanor, he said cautiously. I owe you an apology, she began. I judged you unfairly. I assumed the worst. Marcus leaned against the doorframe. And now? Now I see I was wrong. And I'm truly sorry. Marcus studied her for a moment before nodding. Apology accepted. But next time, maybe don't wait for a magazine to tell you someone's worth. Eleanor chuckled nervously. Fair enough. As she turned to leave, Marcus called after her. Hey, Eleanor? Yes? He handed her a small box. Take this. It's a gift. Opening it, she gasped. Inside was a delicate bracelet, simple yet stunning. Thank you, she whispered. Marcus smiled. Welcome to the neighborhood.